Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and my channel is Riding with Ash. As you know, I'm a truck driver, so this is going to be a story time about my last week and my truck breaking down and all the nonsense that happened in between. It is a long story, I'm sorry, but it was just a lot of foolishness. And my truck also broke down the week before, and that was because of a DEF issue. But it basically, my truck shut down again. So this will be a story time about what happened. It starts out with me in my normal yard, and we prepare to leave. We do our pre-trip as usual. I notice my fluids are a little low, so I go and check it out. I ask the mechanic shop. They tell me, fill it up, keep an eye on it. Okay, so I take my load out to my customer, which is a 4-hour drive. It's in Windsor. So Windsor's on our side, Canadian side. Michigan is on the US side, so that's where the border is. So that's where I'm heading to. So I take it there. This customer is very strict. You have to make sure that you follow the rules, or else you will be banned for a year. And then, if you keep doing that, you're banned for X amount of time. So I brought my trailer in. It's a one-way in, one-way out system for their entrance and exit. It's also a very small street that you turn in onto. So I turn to go in, and you have to do what's called sliding your tandems. So you have to slide your trailer along your wheels. You have to slide your trailer all the way to the front so your wheels are at the back. I'm going to try and insert a picture of what the frame looks like so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So you have to do that before you go into the property. You're not allowed on the property without doing that. So I attempt to do that. It doesn't work. So I get out, I try again, doesn't work. Security comes, tries to help me. We are fighting with this thing, doesn't work. So about 35 minutes later, we just literally had to Frankenstein it and put some stuff together. We ended up using a pen and duct tape to get it to work. So he's like, okay, as long as it slides, you can bring it in, leave it on the property, and then you could call a mechanic and they'll come fix it. Fantastic. 40 minutes. So 2 guys are waiting to come out, 4 guys waiting to come out, and trucks are waiting to come in. I felt so bad. So that's number one issue. So I dropped that off, get my new one. I'm on my way. Everything is great. So along the route of leaving and going there, my dispatch says, hey, you make sure you wait an hour before you cross the border, even though you've got your entry number. So we get an entry number that allows us to cross. It lets us know we are able to cross the border. So I was sent that message at 6:30. It's now 7. So I said, okay, no problem. Because of the nature of this load, you can't just stop anywhere. You're not allowed to. So you can stop at designated areas. So duty free, of course, is one of the designated areas because it's at the border.
So I'm just popping in
The
to say that
border.
I had to
I
back
pull into
out of the
duty
fuel
free.
lane and
I
park
pull into the
along
fuel
the right
island,
side where the
and
grassy area is because the manager said if I'm going to be there for more than, 5 minutes, I can just park along that fence there. So he helped me back out and actually park along the fence. But because there was a box truck in front of me that was already parked along the fence, I had to park a little bit off angle so it wasn't perfectly straight. So that's when I continue talking, that's what I'm talking about. That's where I was. I was right beside that grassy area to the right side.
I'm like, okay, let me go on my way because the way the truck was sitting was not in the best angle. But he said, you're not going to be here very long, so it's no problem. So I attempt to turn on my truck, turns on, shuts down in about 30 seconds. And I was like, oh, that's weird. But I've done this before because I didn't turn the key properly. So it had attempted to turn on, but it shut off automatically. So this has happened to me one time before. So I said, oh, I must not have turned it properly. So I attempt to do it again. Shuts off in 30 seconds. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, what's happening? This is odd. What would be shutting my truck down? There's no signals. There's no engine light. There's no, nothing. At least something would pop up and be like, this is what's wrong with your engine, and you could open it, you could try and fix it. No. Third attempt, turn it on, maybe 45 seconds. Now it shuts off. And I was like, oh no, please, what is happening? So Turn it off again, do it for a fourth attempt. This time my truck violently shook, and I just turned it off, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not even gonna try and turn it on again. So I call what we call is we call our maintenance and mechanic shop fleet support. That's what we call them. So I call fleet support, and then I call dispatch and I say, my truck is not turning on. Like, I'm not sure what's happening, but I didn't want to attempt it again because how violently it shook, and it really worried me. So I said, something is wrong. I need a mechanic. She said, okay, I'll call fleet support and I'll ask them for some, maybe like we can figure out something to do. We always try and troubleshoot before getting a mechanic involved because it might just be something minor. So she calls, gets back to me. The information that fleet support gave her was so incorrect. And I was like, no, we're not, no. She said, it's fine. We'll just call a mechanic and he'll be on his way. So I walk back into the duty free and I'm like, you'll never guess what happened. My truck broke down, and they're like, no way. I said, yeah, my truck broke down. It's literally, I cannot turn it on. I tried, cannot turn it on. So they said, listen, you're more than welcome to stay inside. We have tea, we have coffee, we have hot water if you want to make something. We have seating. Like, they were so kind. I said, okay, no worries, like, no problem, but just letting you guys know, that's why I'm gonna be here waiting for the mechanic. So I go back to my truck. Mechanic usually takes about 4 hours because now it's after hours. It's now 7:30 p.m. and mechanics take a lot longer because there's less of them after a certain time. So I already know I'm in for about a 3 hour to 4 hour wait. 4 hour wait. I already know that. My time is running down. We have 13 hours of drive time in Canada. We have 11 hours of drive time in the States. But because I'm at the border, I mean, like, it might recognize that you're in the States, but it's not. The Canadian driving time will just keep running down until you have 0 hours left. In the States, it'll save you that time. So once you're off duty, not driving for 2 hours, it'll hold that time. So you could be off for 6 hours. You'll still have all your drive time as long as you're not moving and you're off duty. Canada's not like that. So I'm running really, really low on time. And I'm like, my plan was to go directly to the customer, drop off the trailer so it would be safe. So I'm like, oh no, I don't think I'm gonna make it tonight. This is gonna be a whole thing. So 3.5 hours later, I'm still waiting for the mechanic. So I just kind of shut off the lights. I'm relaxing. A border patrol pulls up beside my truck, and I'm like, oh, hey guys. She's like, oh, hey, like, your truck is the back is a little weird. Like, do you mind just moving up a little in the curve? And it's the same curve of the picture. I'll try and include it. But she said, hey, can you just move up in the curve a little bit? Because the back of the trailer was a little bit off. I said, well, my truck broke down. Like, it's broken down. She said, what? I said, oh, my truck broke down. I can't even start it. She's like, oh my gosh, really? She's like, okay, I'll be right back. I said, what do you mean you'll be right back? Like, there's a mechanic coming, right? Like, what would you have to be right back for? So now I'm getting a little bit more worried because what's happening? And I have a bad feeling. And she comes back, maybe it was a man and a woman, and she comes back maybe 5 minutes later, and she's like, so the mechanic is not allowed on the property because it's considered private property, and they can't do any mechanical work on private property. And I was like, okay. So she's like, we're gonna have to call a border tow truck for your truck. Like, not even a tow truck from our company, or our company can call one. They call their specific tow truck. And she said, we're gonna have to tow you out, and they'll find a truck stop. There's a Husky truck stop that's somewhere. I've never been there before, but that's where they're gonna tow you to. So I said, okay. I call my company, I let them know, hey. She said, okay, about maybe half an hour. It is 11 p.m. at this point. So I have been at that duty free at 7 p.m. It's now 11 p.m. She said half an hour. So the tow truck didn't come till midnight. Right at midnight, he pulled up. And the mechanic called me. He said, I'm at the Husky. I said, okay, tow truck is here. We'll be on my way. I'll insert a little clip of him actually like pulling in, then backing up, and he's hooking up to my truck. So this is where things go left again. So he doesn't say a single word to me. Not a word. He spoke to the border patrol, sorry, that was there, and then he just starts doing what he has to do. Normally, you go to the driver and you're like, hey, what's up? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hook up, blah, blah, blah. At this point, you can exit your truck and then come sit in my truck. Okay, I have been told multiple times. So I said, okay, maybe he's just doing his thing. Like, I'm going to leave him alone. But I'm sitting in the driver's seat.
Maybe he was still asleep.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was.
It's pretty late.
It was midnight. So he hooks up to my truck, but then he starts to hoist it upward. So that means the front of my truck is now sitting upward. So I'm like, this is kind of strange, because I don't know if you're really supposed to hoist a truck, while the person is still sitting in the driver's seat. So I'm getting a little worried, because I'm like, oh, like I have to get out of this still, and now it's off the ground. So as he walks by, I open my window. I said, hey, do you want me to come out and go sit in your truck? Like, I'm only sitting here because he didn't say anything to me, but I have no issues. I'll get out and go sit. He said, oh, no, like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. When I'm done hooking up everything, you can come by, and then you could come out and then sit in my truck. I said, okay, no problem. So he keeps doing what he's doing. This is about 40 minutes later. He's still hooking up everything, because it's a truck and a trailer. So it's a truck and the trailer, so it's very, very heavy. So it does take a lot more time than just towing a truck. So he takes out, it's called the drive bar, and I'll try again to include a picture of it. And it's just a very heavy piece of metal. It's long and it's circular, and it's in the middle of the truck, and it rotates. So it's attached to the axles, and it rotates. So in order to tow the truck, you have to take that out. So he takes that out, he puts it on the ground, and then he comes up to me, he says, hey, can you just open up your compartment that's next? Open up your compartment so I could put the drive bar in the compartment. I said, oh yeah, okay, no problem. So I hop up and I, come back out of the truck, attempt to come out of the truck as normal. So we have a bar, and you can either hang on to the steering wheel or you can hang on to the door frame, but you're supposed to be holding two positions, which I always do. I take my steps very carefully and like slowly. So I take the first step, take the second step. I attempt to take the third step, and of course it's usually about this far off the ground. So I let go of the bar, not remembering how far it was, because the truck was still lifted, right? He didn't put it down. So it was still lifted. And so I start tumbling, not tumbling, but I just kind of fumbled backward, because the ground wasn't there when I attempted to step on the ground. And so I'm like, oh no. So my feet did catch the ground, of course, and I'm kind of like stumbling backward, but at this point I could have caught myself. It wasn't that bad. I was like, oh, I'm just stumbling a little. But he had put the drive bar right beside my door. So because it was right beside my door, I didn't see it, and I tripped backwards on the drive bar. So I mean completely falling, like not even, you can't save yourself. You can't attempt to like, oh, let me try and break my fall. No. This is stumbling, trip, and fall. And the only reason why I didn't hit my head on the concrete is because he saw all this chaos happening and attempted to kind of like break the fall, but he couldn't completely break the fall, but at least he braced my back and my arm. So it prevented me from, hitting my head on the concrete, but I basically fell. So my leg, my knee, my elbow, my back, it was just complete fall. So at first it was like, I got an instant bad headache. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening? I'm just sitting on the floor, like trying to figure out what just happened. Why am I on the floor? And he's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know. My head is killing me. So it was just kind of like a wave of a headache. So that passed. And of course, because of adrenaline, you're not really feeling anything, right? So I hop up. I said, oh yeah, yeah. Like I'm fine. That was just really weird. Like, haha. That was interesting. So he's like, okay, as long as you're okay. Like I was gonna tell you to watch your step, but I wasn't on time. It's fine. So we got all that stuff figured out. He had to put the dry bar on the back because it couldn't fit. And he's just like, okay, you know what? Just go sit in my truck now. I said, yeah, you should have done that before. So I go and I sit in the truck and I'm just waiting for him to finish. He finishes. Okay, now we're on our way finally. Okay, so it's been an hour, but we're finally on our way. Now it is 1 o'clock in the morning. So we look around and I'm like, do we have to go through customs? Because the two other borders, which is Niagara Falls and Sarnia, they have a little like escape to Canada. So you can pull up to duty free and then you can literally turn back and go back into Canada without crossing customs because you haven't left Canada technically. This is the one border you cannot do that at. So you have to go through customs. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize we had to go through customs. I said, well, my fast card is in my truck. So a fast card is like a passport for truck drivers. Said, mine's in my truck. Oh no. And he's like, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. We're always here. Like, we come to this border all the time. They know us. I said, in my head, I was like, yeah, but it's still a border. Like, you can't just be like, go on, guys. Like, we're used to your faces. Because my face is new. But I said, okay. So another about half hour goes by because we had to wait for the border patrol to actually cut through the dense traffic that was coming to cross into Canada. And I do have a little clip of that of us just like trying to make the U-turn pretty much. And it's a massive vehicle carrying another massive vehicle. It was kind of cool. And so we make the turn, we're waiting in line, and he starts kind of tapping his jacket, his pants pocket, and I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, oh, I left my wallet in my other truck. And I was like, do you mean the wallet that's supposed to have your driver's license? I'm just thinking of the driver's license at this point. I said, your wallet that's supposed to have your driver's license? That wallet? He's like, yeah, like I was kind of woken up at 11 and it kind of like I was tired, and I'm like, oh my goodness, please, like this is not going well. And so I'm like, okay, well, whatever, at least you have a passport. He's like, I don't have a passport. So I said, you understand we're going to jail, right? Like, we're going to jail. This is not going to end well. You don't have a passport or a driver's license, and my fast card is in my truck. We're going to jail. Like, so I'm sweating while we're waiting in line to get to the customs.
Is this his first tow?
Apparently, like sweating, and I'm just like, oh no, this person, like, I just hope all the kind they're having the best day because this is gonna be a mess. So we pull up, and she's like, oh, papers, and he's like, well, I left my wallet in my other truck, and her fast card is in the truck that's being towed. And she just looked at us so blankly, like we were the dumbest people ever. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is just going so, like, it already started bad, and it's still going bad. And she's like, well, I need something. You're at a border. And he was just not having it. He was like, oh, but we come here all the time. We didn't even leave Canada. I just picked her up right there at the duty free, right there. Like, we didn't leave Canada. We didn't do anything. She's like, it's still a border. And of course, that's what's in my head. I'm like, it's still a border. You still need something to cross. So I hop out to go get my fast card because I'm like, I don't know. And he's rifling through his phone because he just happened to have a picture of his driver's license on his phone, but that's still not valid for a border. But she was like, whatever. Like, so she took his and she took mine. And thank God, she was just like, just go. Like, she was sick of it. Just go. And oh my goodness, I was like I was sweating. We get through, cool. He's just so unhappy, and I'm like, this shows how privileged some people are, because you need to understand you're at a border. This is a customs border. This isn't a joke, right? Like, have your stuff ready, and you don't have a passport either. So she could have literally just told us to get out and go into the customs building, and they could have impounded both of our vehicles, and we wouldn't have left there that night. So we head to the truck stop, and the mechanic is there. So we're circling, and there's pretty much nowhere really to park, because it is now 2:30 in the morning. And it was just really difficult to find a parking space. Finally find a parking space, and now it goes left again. So he's like, okay, how will the company be paying? He's like, there's different types of payments. I said, it's going to be this payment. Let me call right now. So I call, I say, this is the amount. He writes out everything that he needs to. This is the amount. I'll take a picture. I'll send the receipt. She said, okay, no problem. I'll get that ready for you right now. So she's getting that ready. He refused to drop the truck, at least to ground level, so the mechanic could check it out. Refused. And I'm like, the trailer and the tractor are still hooked up to your tow truck. We can't go anywhere. And even if it wasn't, the drive bar is disconnected. You physically can't drive the truck. Refused to drop it. So the poor mechanic had to climb onto the stairs of the truck, then climb onto the wheel to climb onto the engine, because he couldn't see anything because it was hoisted in the air. Okay, so the mechanic is trying to check everything out. He's running back and forth, pretty much just trying to see everything, because there was multiple reasons why this could have been happening, but because there was no indications on the dashboard, he had to just figure everything out by checking everything. So it did take a little bit of time. It was taking him a little bit of time. But mind you, this is not too much time. We've only been at the truck stop for about maybe like 10 minutes. And so the dispatch calls me back, and she says, hey, like, we have a little bit of a problem, because the check that I need to write, it's too big. So because she's the overnight staff, she's not authorized to write checks for a certain amount, which is crazy in itself, because she's dealing with all of Kriska. She's the overnight staff, so she has to deal with different problems. So she said, well, the fleet support comes in at 7 a.m. They are authorized for this. Mind you, now it's 3 o'clock in the morning. They're authorized to give this amount. So can he just wait till 7? Not physically wait there, but just wait till 7 for the money. They have no problems giving money. They will pay who they need to pay. This is not an issue with the company. So I relay that message, and it just goes from like, oh, Mr. Nice Guy, to like completely irritated and annoyed. And he wasn't being mean to me at all. We had a good trip there. Even though this took a long time, he was tired, we were having a good old time. So he turns from, Jekyll to Hyde, Hyde to Jekyll, whatever. And he's like, nope, I'm not waiting till 7. I said, no, you don't have to wait here, but your money will be sent at 7, just because she's not authorized to sign such a big amount. And he's like, nope, doesn't matter. I'm going to disconnect your truck, and I'll have to impound your truck. And I was like, what does that mean exactly? Can you explain that to me? He said, well, I'd have to bring it to an impound lot, and Crisco would have to set up a hotel for you, and you'd have to basically like Uber or whatever to the hotel. And I was like, oh, this is just going so wrong. So I call her back again. I relay the information. I'm panicking now, because this trailer cannot be left by itself. There's a reason why it's a high value load, and you cannot leave this trailer by itself, right? They have strict rules. Even though this is not my fault, we still can't leave. It's the risk is too high. So I call back and I relay this information, and I was like, please help, because I don't know what to do at this point. I don't know what to do. So she's scrambling, trying to find, she said, I've asked for authorization, but remember, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. No one is awake yet. So that's why no one is answering, or else she would have got an answer a lot sooner. And she's like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna try my best. I said, okay, please, because I don't know what else to do. So calls back again. She's like, I'm trying to get a hold of them. They're not answering. So I said, you know what? Can you just speak to the tow truck driver so you can relay this information, because it's just going, it's going through me to her, from her to me back to him. So I said, here, can you just relay the information? Who told me to do that? He turned into like the biggest jerk. I mean, like, you have 5 minutes to get this done, or I'm dropping this trailer and I'm taking this tractor and I'm impounding it. I don't care what you have to say. I've been here for X amount of time. I mean, just going off. And I was so embarrassed because he wasn't acting like this with me. But once it came to dispatch and like trying to get, paid and stuff, he just turned into a whole different person. And I felt so bad. But she was like, I'm trying. I'm scrambling and I'm trying. He's like, no, you have 5 minutes. Hands me back the phone. And I'm talking to her. I said, I'm so sorry. She said, I'll call you back. So as this is happening, he's actually outside dropping my landing gear. So those are the legs on the trailer, so that he can disconnect my tractor and take it to an impound lot. Like, he wasn't even giving that 5 minutes. He was out of the truck in 10 seconds to go do this. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And the mechanic is like, well, it's not really fixable. You have to bring it to a shop. Like, so like, the mechanic doesn't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And so we're just like, oh my goodness. So she calls back. She says, hey, we got it. Like, I'll write it. I'm going to send it in. So I have to get out. I hop out. I let him know, like, stop, relax. Like, we got it. She's going to write it and we'll give you the numbers. Cool. So he finally gets his number, pays. Okay. The mechanic is like, well, I have to go because it's not fixable. So I'm basically stuck there. Okay. So he drops it, goes on his way. I stay there for the night. Cool. So the next morning, we have a different tow truck come because there was actually a shop down the street. So he comes, he hooks up, nicest person ever. Like, he just made up for the whole mess of a night that we had. And that's basically, I went to sleep at about 4:30 that morning. 4:30 a.m. and I woke up at about 8 because I was just so nervous and stressed. And so he came, he hooked it up, he brought it to the shop. All is well. Like, they were really, really sweet. So we got there about 12 and they finished around 4. So what they had said was there's excess water in my fuel tank, which is odd because sometimes it does condense. So water will condense into your fuel tank. And it'll either freeze if it's really cold, or it'll just be there, but it does filter out. We have a filtration system in our engine that filters all that water out so it doesn't shut your truck down like it did for me. But apparently there was too much water and the filter wasn't doing its job. So whatever happened, it happened at the duty free and not on the bridge, because that's a 1-lane bridge, and it would have shut down and that would have been a huge disaster, because there's cars coming, there's trucks coming, and I'm glad it was in the duty free. I'm glad it was able to be taken, even though it was a mess. And that's basically the story. And so I do have, like, my elbow was almost fractured from this. So I'm just kind of taking it really, really slow. So I'll try and put out a video here and there, but it's not going to be a lot so far because I'm trying to just give time for my elbow to heal. And there's like a little bit of, what is this, taping, but it's in a lot of pain. So just letting it recover. The rest of me is perfectly fine, no problems. I'm still doing city now and again. So that's what I'll be doing. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to put them down in the chat. I know this was a long video, but the story was so ridiculous. So, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And then, again, any comments, you can feel free to put them down. And I'll try and have the next video up in about maybe a week or so and not have such a big gap. So thank you so much for watching and enjoy your day. Okay, bye.